Welcome to Live at Zero BPM, bringing live music to you. Tonight, it's the Live at Zero BPM Socially Distant Jazz Roundtable, featuring Greg Karukas, David Becker, Dimitri Machlis, and B. Griffin. If you care to donate, click on the donate tip jar link in the description or on our website at liveatzerobpm.com/tipjar. And now, let's get to the music with your host, Billy Hulting.
All right. Hey, everybody out there in Live at Zero BPM land. It's Thursday again. We've got another great panel for you. I just want to say, before we get into the music, I want to explain the tipping thing. I will put the links up. I will put them on the Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube chat rooms, so you can do that. The tips get spread out evenly with everybody, and we could really use your help to support live music. And let's get and meet the guys. Hey, everybody. Oh, we lost David for a second. There he comes. Here we go.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, welcome, everybody. Let me just tell you guys out watching the live stream right now, we are trying new software tonight. So there may be some things that come in and out, still working out some of the kinks, but we're here to have a good time. The excellent part about this software is the musicians are now in stereo coming to you, so it should sound a lot better, a lot better. So, but tonight we have Mr. Greg Karukas, Mr. David Becker, Dimitri Smachlis, and gotta get him the applause, and Pete Griffin. So anyway, you're going to have a good time. But like the intro says, let's get to the music. And our first guest tonight is Greg Karukas.
And
hey,
here
Greg.
we are. Hey, Billy.
Hey, so for those of you who don't know Greg, I've known him for many years, but let me just tell you a couple things. He is a Grammy winner. He also has 12 solo CDs out. You're an original member of the Rippingtons, but you also worked with Boney James, Dave Koz, Larry Carlton. Anybody else of note?
Rick Braun, Sergio Mendes, Dori Caymmi, Rodney Dangerfield.
Awesome. That sounds pretty fun. So let's see. You were also the MD on Gary Shandling's show, or This is Gary Shandling's show. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, the very first one that was on Showtime, It's Gary Shandling's show. Great experience, 4 years being the warm-up band, in the studio, live studio
cool.
tapings.
And the little trivia about Greg is your first recording session, I guess not jingles, but your first album session was with Yule Gibbons. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, people of a certain age will remember Yule Gibbons because he did Grape Nuts cereal commercials, because he was a naturalist and, he had all this natural foods. But he wrote many, many books about stalking the wild asparagus, and he was a forager, a naturalist, a famous naturalist. And this producer came up with a concept of, let's have Yule narrate reading the works of Henry David Thoreau, the poems.
Oh, that's cool.
And the sax player that I was working with at the time, Tim Ironman, got the call. And so the two of us, we went to this studio in Pennsylvania, and we improvised flutes and with recorders with echo, and I had synthesizers and my Fender Rhodes. I think this was 1974.
Now, is this live with Yule Gibbons?
20 or something like that. But
or were you overdubbing? Oh, we lost Greg. Again, let's see. I'll just cut back to me until Greg shows up again. Let's see. So again, we're trying to work out the connection issues. So if this happens a little bit tonight, I thank you for understanding. Oh, there he is. Let's go back to Greg. There you are.
Did you hear any of that?
Yes, we heard all the way up to you were improvising with the synthesizers and the flute player. But I asked, was he there in the studio live with you, or were you overdubbing to him?
Yeah, we were overdubbing. It was back then, it was an 8-track, 1-inch machine that stood taller than me, and he had already done his readings, and then it was just up to us to do. We had some extra tracks to work with, so we got to do some layers. But yeah, that album
So, do
is
you
on
found
YouTube.
that had a
It's
great
on,
influence on your career now?
Oh, incredible influence, because I learned, let the engineer push the buttons and you worry about the music. But I always watched what the engineers were doing, and that's where I got so much of my engineering and producer education, by watching the guys who were really the experts. And I was very fortunate to be in those situations, doing a lot of jingles and stuff at a young age.
Nice. And now you just told me recently not new, but a passion of yours is Brazilian music. And you want to tell us a little bit about the upcoming project you're doing?
Yes, well, I hope that some people out there are familiar with native dancer Wayne Shorter's iconic record from the mid-'70s that features Milton Nascimento and Nairto, and Herbie Hancock is on it, and the Brazilian rhythm section. So I had heard that record when it came out in the 70s, and that became my favorite record of all time. So when you fast forward, I was also lucky. Another year or two later, the chef at the jazz club that I was playing at in Washington, D.C., Mitch Rubin, had been to Brazil, and he had collected LPs. So he let me borrow his whole collection, and I recorded it onto cassette. So I had a really good collection of all the greatest MPB, Music Popular Brasilia, records. And I would just listen to that all the time. And I never worried about transcribing or learning the songs. I know every note, every syllable. I don't understand Portuguese, but the music is such a big part of just another facet of what I do, and it's crept into my writing. And lately, because of the full circle situation where I ended up playing with a lot of Brazilians, in Los Angeles for many years. And, we used to play Le Café with Dori Caymmi. And I found a box of cassettes, the live shows from at my place and also from Le Café. And I wanted to play it, but my cassette deck, the belts had dried out, so it didn't work. So I had to buy a used cassette deck off of Craigslist, and I listened to it. And that evening, that just turned my whole thing around. That was back in March of last year.
Wow.
And that evening, I sat down at the piano and I started to just recall the Dori Caymmi songs that I had played on piano. And one thing led to another, and I just started going back to these classic Brazilian songs that I had heard hundreds of times. And I ended up committing to doing a solo piano project, and that's what happened. It finally came out. Bam! Here it is. It's going to be out in just a few weeks, in February 12th. It's called Serenata. Nice. Piano Impressions
when you release
Milton Nascimento.
We'll put it in the newsletter so people know where to find it, how to get it. So, but I'm going to play a little clip of you. You played here with Dave Hill's group, and you're coming back as soon as we're open to having bands again with your the GK Soul Jazz Party with Pat Kelly, who was here with us last week, and Joel Taylor, and the sax player is Keith McKelly?
Keith McKelly, yeah.
McKelly, okay. But let me just play a little, so people get a little scene of what it was like here. There's the Greg clip. Okay, very cool. What are you going to play for us now?
Well, I'm going to play something off of my last CD, which the CD is called Soul Secrets, and it's a mixture of everything, very funky R&B, instrumental kind of stuff, and quite a few little Brazilian things in there in the mix. So here's kind of a salsa-ish Brazilian thing, which is called Café
Take it away.
Go-Go. Here comes the track.
Of course, it works great until he starts playing his solo piece. But we'll get Greg back and we'll do that. So let's see. While we're waiting for Greg to reconnect, let me see if I can. Oh, he might be just. Oh, there he is. He's joining again. Let me get back to Greg. Again, I apologize for this. Here we go. You're a true professional. The show must go on. That was great, Greg. And we recovered pretty quickly. So I hope everybody appreciated not only his musical expertise, but his technical expertise in that. So thank you, Greg. Let's bring back the gang. So I think everybody's here right now.
Yeah, that was
people
amazing.
popping in and
was
out,
great.
but I think we're good. So I'd like to call out the people that have tipped, and Joe has tipped very generously. Joe Jablanowski,
I know that
Pete's
guy.
dad, who has the same sailboat as I do,
Cool.
I believe. And my brother Fred has tipped as well. So thank you, Fred. And my family's been very helpful with this. So I flashed the thing up on the screen. It's in the chat rooms. We have a lot of people here. Graham and Doug are watching from Australia. And Pat Kelly is here. Of course, Phil is from Ontario is here. David May is here. Hi, David. It says Diego Brazil. He says, shout out to Zuba's mom. I'm not sure who that reference is, but okay, get Pete back here and Greg.
Yes.
So let's. Pat says great playing and great sound. Yes, thanks, Pat. We're working on that. It's trying to make it better for everybody. And Juliet is here. Sonia is here. Toby, of course. Everybody. I'd like to say hi to all of our regulars, but let's go down the list here. It's time for David Becker. Let me see, where is he? There he is. Hey, David.
Hey, Billy.
I love how you have like the nice backdrop, color coordinated, everything. It looks really good. So, and I know it's going to sound great also, but David Becker, I've known you for a long time. I think I met you when Gary Gardner and Bob Mayer were playing in the Tribune, in the David Becker Tribune.
Yeah, actually, I think I met you before that when Jim was playing in the band, and you. I think I went to your senior recital, if I'm not mistaken.
That was a week or two ago.
Yes.
But you've been nominated for a Grammy and an Emmy.
Yes. Yeah.
What was the Emmy for?
The Emmy was interesting. I did a soundtrack for it was a bank commercial that got nominated for these like daytime Emmys. And I didn't even know it until like after the award show. The guy that produced it called me and said, "Oh, we got nominated for an Emmy." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, so.
Very cool. Well, I see Lori is watching us on Facebook, so if you want to wave. She's probably standing right next to you for all we know.
No, she's in the other room.
So, but let me go through a couple of these things. David Becker Tribune is your main group, but you have 17 recordings out, which is awesome. And then I read a quote about you that I loved. They said that you were a poet on the jazz guitar.
Well, that's a nice.
You read all these quotes about people, but that one really stuck out. It isn't this typical thing, so I really appreciate that. And I was going to ask you, I read a little bit about Batavia. Do you want to explain what that was about?
Batavia. Well, Batavia is a very special record. It came out originally 10 years ago, but we had plans to do a live version of it with the Metropole Orchestra in Netherlands, but unfortunately because of COVID, that had to be postponed. But Batavia, basically, I wrote music about stories that I grew up with about my mom's family. My mom is Dutch, but they were living in Indonesia, and they were interned in prison camp during the Second World War. So those stories had a big impact on me, and I sat down with, originally it was supposed to be a documentary, and I started writing music about it, and that's what became Batavia. So I don't know if you still can see me or hear me, but I think I got frozen.
Yep, we can still, you're good. I have to text him. So just so you guys know, sometimes it freezes on the other end. Oh, he'll be back in a second, so. But I got to get back to the right screen. Well, we'll just wait for him here. But David, oh, here he comes. We're going to get this figured out, so it's not happening. But
am I back?
So we'll see what's going on with that. But no, we did hear all about Batavia, so that's great. What are you going to play for us now?
I'm going to loop a tune that's from an album that I did in 2005 and got re-released in 2015. On an album called Euroland, and it's a tune called Dawn Over Dublin. So I'm going to play the acoustic guitar on this guitar, then I'm going to overdub basically a mandolin sound, and then I'm going to play the electric guitar with the melody. So this is Dawn Over Dublin.
Okay. All right. Oh, David disappears as he finishes. But that was great, David. I'm sorry, over there on YouTube, I've lost the chat room. I hit a button and it slid off the page, and I have no idea how to get the chat back in YouTube. So I'm going to try to figure that out while we go on. But that was great, David. We got it all the way to the end.
Oh, cool.
Before you blanked out. But hey, we got a question from Doug, and this is kind of a good one. Let me get over to my notes section here. He asks, with learning to play outside of the chords, which came first, the sound in the ears or the forcing of scales?
Well, I'll answer that one. I never think of scales, and I think it's the sound has to come first, because you got to remember, music is a language, and your dialects are very important into languages. So when you think about playing outside the sound of the key or of the chord, it's not really doing that. You're just altering it with different colors. And if you can't hear that sound, it's not going to make sense to you if you know all the technical stuff. You can learn all the math and all the the theory and stuff, but if you don't know how it's supposed to sound and how to make it sound right, it's not going to work. So you really have to get your ear tuned to be able to hear what's going on. And then you can start to look at the math and work that out. I always tell my students, you do the math, but sit down and play it and listen to it. Does it make sense to you as a listener, not as the guy playing it? So.
Cool. Demetrius, did you hear that question? Or was this, when learning to play outside, do you just use your ears, or do you try specific scales to see what they sound like? Do you have any thoughts on that? Oh, we've lost Jimmy's mic. So we'll ask Greg or Pete if you have something to say on that.
Well, I mean, I think what David said is amazing. Like it's all about setting up rules so that you can break them, kind of. Being a bass player, I'm usually more in the key. But when I solo, I kind of like going outside a little bit. And I've been really embracing, like I just said, learning some of the standard things that you do as a bass player or as a soloist, so that you know when you can get away from it. You know, like we're supposed to play the root note on beat 1. So what happens when we don't? And if you're confident enough to really like put that down and mean it.
Hold your mic up to your mouth, Pete.
If you're confident enough to like put the note where you want it, then it works. You know, it's not about. I try not to think too much in those moments, and I think that's kind of what David was saying too. It sounds like we have Jimmy's mic
Well,
back.
let's move on to Dimitri's. Oh, keep talking, Jimmy. It seems like you have to clear out the more you talk, the better it'll sound. Well, we'll work on that. Let's go. Oh, there he is. Dimitri's? No. Let's go on to Pete, and we'll try to correct that well. Pete, let me just talk a little bit about Pete. I know Pete reasonably well. We toured together for 6 years with Zappa Plays Zappa. And what are some of the other tours you did before and after that?
Before that, I had played with Hanson, which certainly sets me up for the jazz roundtable. But yeah, then we got the Zappa gig, which was a lot of fun, you know. And then I left that band in 2011, and I've since played with Death Clock, the world's foremost cartoon metal band. And
Great
most recently,
cartoon.
Yeah, it's incredible. Most recently, I've been playing with this tour called Generation Axe, which is a shredder guitar player's either dream or nightmare, depending on how you look at it, where I am in the only backing band for Tosin Abasi, Nuno Bettencourt, Zach Wilde, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Steve Vai. And they all do a set on their own, but they do some stuff together, and then there's like a big kind of wailing arrangement of stuff. Steve Vai is amazing in that he managed to there's a video floating around the internet of our version of Bohemian Rhapsody, where he arranged all the vocal parts for each different guitar player, and we were doing that live every night. And for a pandemic quarantine throwdown, we sort of did it again, and we actually had Brian May listen to it and play over us, which is pretty darn cool. So
yeah, I saw that. That was incredible.
Oh, cool, right on. So I'm like, maybe 12 degrees away from having played with Brian May, but I can sort of say that, which is kind of cool.
Well, I mean, people out in the jazz world, the fans that are watching this, may not know who all those guys are, Zach Wilde and these guys, but that is an insanely amazing lineup of rock guitar players. And Pete is such a versatile musician in himself. And you played here with the Butterface Trio.
Yes,
I have a little clip.
I'm
going to let that roll.
Sweet. All right.
Sorry, I'm trying to do a bunch of things all at the same time, and I don't know if we just lost our feed on YouTube. So sorry, gang. This is kind of weird, and this is not their fault, but let me get back to Pete. Be guest. I have 32 scenes set up here with different people. So that was with Butterface. That was with Jamie Kime and Andy Sinisi. And
Yes.
Oh boy,
Jamie
I
being
think I
another-
lost YouTube.
Oh,
I
man.
cannot tell.
Well, let me take this opportunity.
Maybe I didn't. It's so hard to tell. I'm watching the stream on a different computer and it's still there. So I apologize for these technical issues tonight. Some weird juju going on, but I'm going to assume that it's still going.
Well, let
So,
me take this
you wanna play
opportunity
a
to
piece
thank
for
you
us,
for doing
Pete?
all
You wanna-
this.
Oh, you're welcome. But
it's
tell us
amazing
about
that you put all this together and everything. So.
yeah, I'm just
so
one
what
guy
I've-
in a room. It's still broadcasting to YouTube. I just can't get to the admin side of it, which is fine. But Pete,
It'll
you're
just
doing a lot of
broadcast
stuff with
forever.
this. Oh, there's a latency thing, so we end up talking over each other a little bit. But I'll try to say less. And but I want to ask you about the looping thing you're doing. the software and how you get the ideas for it and what's going on.
Yeah, so with all of everyone's gigs getting canceled, I recorded an album, or I'm working on it, like everybody else. But I also wanted to figure out a way to sort of still keep my improvisation chops up, and to sort of keep, back with the Zappa band, we played a lot of jam band festivals, which I thought were so fun because those crowds are so accepting of everything, and they're expecting to hear something new every night. And so, after a while, you get kind of tired of playing the same old songs. So I kind of got this whole setup with this really cool drum program called Funk Drummer. But there's also Reggae Drummer and Rock Drummer. And it actually kind of jams with you. Like they change the beats up as it goes.
That's
and
cool.
then I got these amazing pedals from this company called Xsonic, where one of them is an interface where I can play my bass into the iPad, use all the sounds within the iPad. Then I have these other ones called these Air Steps, which are actually Bluetooth. So that's just a power cable going to that. So that's even entirely wireless. And so this side basically controls the drums, where I can start and stop them, tell it to do a fill, tell it to move to the next beat that I already have set up to tell it, and then also end. And then over on the right here, I guess you can't see it, I have another of these Air Steps right here. And that's almost more of a mixer, where it's turning on and off a synthesizer sound or a keyboard sound or a drum sound or a bass sound. So with all that, it's somewhere between jam band and DJ, where I basically get a groove going. I use the looper program called Loopy, which is not super professional, but it's pretty stable, luckily.
Yeah.
And then you can go in and turn them on and off. You can set some backwards and all that stuff. And it's just kind of fun seeing where it goes. I try to not really plan anything and just kind of, just go for it and see what happens, which is both terrifying, but can also be kind of liberating when something kind of cool comes together. We were talking before about it. You were saying that the fans of your show are enjoying the human aspect of things, and I think in general that's becoming a lot more desirable even to the average listener. Everyone knows that what we've been hearing is completely quantized, and it's not even really a performance anymore. It's dots moved around within a computer. So people want to hear those rough edges. People want to see you kind of mess up a little bit. Adele has to restart a performance to fix her in-ear, and people go crazy and think she's the coolest ever. I'm like, oh, okay. So when things go wrong, you guys like that. All right, cool. So I've kind of just figured out how to do this, where I just sort of throw some ideas out, see what sticks, and go with it, and everything winds up being kind of a first take as I'm recording it. And hopefully I don't screw anything up, and then I kind of just solo over it and then get out. And
cool.
It's pretty fun.
Well, take it away, Pete.
All right, let's see what happens.
Well, we'll get back to Pete when he logs in again. So again, oh, here he comes. He's coming back in. Hey, Pete. Let's get back to Pete. Where is he? There's a ton of Pete things up here. Oh, that was great. And again, nice recovery, Pete. Okay, let's see if we have Dimitris. Can we hear you, Dimitris?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
we can. Let's go to Dimitris before the ghosts come back and have a little,
Before everything implodes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but just so you people out there, and thank you for letting me know the YouTube is still up. Just something, I got back to the right page, so I'm talking back in there. Before we get to Jimmy, though, I want some more shout-outs. Howard tipped us twice. Says it's his first time, but he loves hearing his friends, Brad, David, and Jeff, as well as me. Thank you, Howard. And he left a couple tips, so thank you, Howard, for that. We also have tips from Meredith, who has been showing up lately. Thank you, Meredith. Sam also tipped us. And I already mentioned Joe and Fred. So I'll put the links up there if you guys want to help out. That would really help make a difference. And but now let's talk to Dimitris. Let me get to the magic Dimitris guest clip. There we go. I do like this new software, though navigating it is not as easy as the other stuff, but I do like a lot of features about this one. So
And I lost
Dimitris,
you.
how are you? Can you still hear me, Dimitris? Oh, well, he's gone. He'll be back in a second. But let me tell you a little bit about him before he gets back. We'll talk to him about this a little bit, but he has studied a lot of the. Oh, here he is. So there you are.
Yeah.
Can we hear you?
Yes, I'm talking.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we just got to check because we have some weird connection with Jimmy's internet. So we'll do. It sounds good now. But I was just telling the people that you're really into Eastern instruments, and you played with a lot of famous Turkish musicians and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that, the instruments and more? Oh, now we've lost your mic. So I hope you can hear me. Okay, we have some trouble there. So yeah, sorry about this. There's some connection on Jimmy's end that we've had some problems with. Sorry, Dimitris. I've known him for a long time. So let's just move on back to the group here, and we'll see if we can't get Dimitris's mic to work again and kick in, because we want to hear him play. He's played here before. Something about the setup over there. But hey, here's a question for you guys. Who are you listening to now, whether new artists or influence artists from the past? Are you immersing yourself in anything? Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. But let's go to answer this question. Anybody have anybody they're listening to you want to talk about? Because we want to hear him play. He's played here. Okay. Well, let's have. I'll go back to Dimitris. You want to tell us a little bit about your all the Eastern instruments you play and the influence and whatnot? You know, there's something wrong with this setup. Let me go back. I'm sorry about this, people. I don't know what that weirdness is. But I can hear you when we're in the 5 box. Right, Dimitris? No, you're just cutting in and out. I don't know what to do about that, but let's go back to the question. Greg, who are you listening to these days?
I just have fun listening to this and that, and I just start going down a rabbit hole. But I'll tell you one thing, serious. Eva Cassidy. I'm just on an Eva Cassidy binge. And if there's anybody out there that hasn't heard of Eva Cassidy, just go to YouTube, Live at Blues Alley. Her story is incredible and sad, but the music is just going to last for generations to come. People who discover her, she all of a sudden becomes their very favorite singer ever. So
Yeah, she's great. I've seen
and
that.
and we actually coincidentally went to the same high school in Bowie, Maryland. She's about 8 years younger than me, and so I had already left town. But I know a few of the people that played with her and helped her out in her career as it was before it was cut short by cancer. Eva Cassidy.
Eva, so EVA and then Cassidy, Cassidy.
Yes.
Okay, Demetrius, I think we have your microphone. No, we don't. I could hear you when you snapped your fingers. So, Pete, who are you listening to these days? Pete? Uh-oh, I think he's lost me. I'm going to... you know what, Greg, since your connection seems pretty solid. Okay, now there we have you, Demetrius. We've got you now.
Come on.
Say something. Pick
There
up
he
your guitar
is.
and just start
All right.
playing.
I'm afraid.
Just
I'm
start
afraid
playing.
to say anything because it's gonna be like
No,
you
if
know,
you
it's gonna-
if you stop talking, it goes away. So just keep talking and then pick up your guitar and play something. I think it does something weird when there's just quiet going on in between.
maybe I don't know. Maybe.
Why don't you go ahead and play something for us? Okay, sorry, it's Jimmy. Demetrius, we're not getting your audio tonight, and it worked in rehearsal. That's some kind of frustrating thing. So we'll hang out. Maybe it'll come back. And well, let's go back to you, Greg. Do you want to play another short something for us?
If you like, I can. Yeah, sure.
Let's hear it. Play
All
something.
right. Give me 1 second here.
I will tell I like to tell my personal stories about these guys, but Greg, I met him when he was playing with Shelby Flint because my percussion teacher, Jerry Steinholtz, was her percussionist. And I used to roadie on those gigs for Jerry, take his gear everywhere. And I had played in a jazz history class at Northridge and met some people there. And I told this one woman, hey, Shelby Flint's playing at the pub this Thursday. You got to come see this band. They're amazing. And so she came down, and Greg's not here now, but they ended up getting married. She met Greg at the Shelby Flint gig, and then I think a couple of weeks later you were playing with your own band, right? And that's for the first time you kind of hung out.
Well, it's sort of the other way around. My band was playing with Gary Meek and Jay Delaney, and I think it was either Bernie or Steve Samuel playing drums. But we played the pub, and there was, it was the Thursday, whatever. And I think there was maybe 12 people, but in the front row at a table were two girls. And Yvonne was sitting there nodding her head with the groove. And I thought, boy, if I ever am going to get up the nerve to talk to a girl in the audience, this is the time. And sure enough, I mentioned that I was going to be playing 2 weeks later with Shelby at the Tapestry Room, another larger conference room. And she came, and that was our very first chance to really sit and talk, and that we were together for 32 years.
Wow. It was so funny. It's like the first time I got to get up the nerve to do this once. That's the only time you ever had to do it. You're batting 1,000 there, buddy.
Yeah, efficient. But yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you play a little something for us?
Of course. Okay, I would really love to try my hand at one of these pieces that's my piano impression of a Milton Nascimento song, which is very famous in Brazil. And it's actually his first big hit. He was entered in a song competition back in like 66 or 67. Kind of like American Idol meets whatever, but way back. And this song won the competition, and it jump-started his career. And, of course, Elis Regina heard the song and had to do it. and it's been recorded so many times. And this is Travessia by Milton Nascimento and Fernando Brandt. And I'm going to turn this mic off, and I'm going to do my best.
Right on. Okay, that's it for me. That's it. That's it.
Oh, and Greg makes it and then gets kicked off right as he finishes. The same thing happened to David as soon as you got finished. I mean, the internet's like going, it's just so overwhelmed with love for what you guys are doing that it drops it. Greg, we got it all the way to the end.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, whatever.
We got you all the way to the end. It's like it knows.
Oh, I saw.
So,
I think I see it. Yeah.
Okay.
There's the curtain.
Well, boy, this was going by pretty fast. David, you want to? I think you haven't played David's clip yet. This is David playing with Brad Rebuchin because you guys did a duet album called For John, a tribute to John Abercrombie. Mm-hmm. Really cool album. And,
cool.
Let me just play a little clip from your guys' gig here. So thank you. That was David. A little tiny 20-second clip just to tease you. But the album is really cool, you and Brad. And one of the neat things about that album is it isn't just the same sounds on both your guitars the whole way through. You do some loop stuff, and he changes and plays the sitar.
Different guitars, different sounds. That was the idea. And we only did one of John's tunes, and we titled a lot of the improvised stuff that we did after things like, we called one Crumbles, because that was his nickname in the band Dreams, and some other stuff. But it was a fun record to do. I've known Brad for so long. We have a nice synergy together, so it was great to go and record that.
Well, Brad was one of our first guests on the socially distanced jazz roundtable shows. But you want to play a short little something for us, David?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just do. This is an old standard called "Old Folks" that I've been working on an arrangement for it. So I'll debut it tonight.
Awesome. Here we go.
Here we go.
Well, I'm going to have a talk with these boys about their software. But so I don't know why people are getting knocked off, because it's clean on my end here. It just seems odd that it would have trouble with people on that end. Okay, David, we got most of that. It was
okay.
Great. I'm hesitant to try our conversations in music, but if you guys think we should give it a go, we can.
I think we should give it a go, because that might like get rid of the gremlins. So.
Okay, I'll stay on mic in case. But right now, let's just go Greg, David. Wait till Pete comes back.
Okay. Greg and I will trade force until they come back. Well, there's Pete.
Yeah,
okay.
If somebody drops off, just skip their
We'll just wing it.
So we'll go clockwise. That's
okay.
We're doing
if
this.
you guys
Nice.
have digital watches, clockwise is this way. So, Greg, why don't you count it off and start us off there?
What a responsibility you've given me, Billy.
I know, you're the leader of the quartet trio.
Well, at least my first 4 bars are going to be tight. I know that. And then from there, we'll see what happens. Here we go. 1, 2, 1.
We'll see what happens.
All right, guys, that was fantastic. You know what we missed? I didn't get to play my silly intro. I'm going to play it now, even though it's later. Maybe I'll
Okay.
edit it to the front, but I forgot to play this. Oh, no. It's time for...
Conversations in Music.
That is definitely
I
the
spent
most
all week
important
on
part. Yeah, it's
I
important.
spent all week on that, and then I didn't get to
Super,
play it. So
super
I'm
important.
glad a little clock and everything. So, but I think we're at 8 o'clock. But people don't mind if we go a little over 8 o'clock. I don't think. Where you gotta go?
Any questions out there? Anybody else got any
yeah.
questions?
I haven't seen any questions popping up on the chat rooms, but we did have a couple of the ladies loved the story about you and your wife, Greg. So Toby and Lori both said congratulations, nice story. So we have a couple more tips though I'd like to shout out for Jacob and Chris. Oh, Chris, my buddy in South Carolina. I'm not sure where Jacob is, but thank you. And Juliet bought another shirt and a hat. And thank you. The merch sales, which I'm wearing here, and if you can't see it, but in the little lettering it says support live music at the bottom. I use that money to help pay for my fixed costs, the internet, the software, and all that kind of stuff. But the tips get divided up between the people you see on the screen and Dimitri's, even though he's not on the screen right now. So I
We
think
miss you.
we're going to work on that.
We miss you, Jimmy.
And have him back. Yeah, but before we get to Pete's little piece, I do want to show something. I want to talk about what is coming up. Upcoming shows. Let me just put this up there. And so we're going to continue with this for a while. We can't have the live bands. And next week we have Carrie Frank, Jamie Kime, Dave Hill, and Sinclair Lott. So we've got a keyboard player, organist. We have Jamie Kime and Dave Hill are guitar players who both played here. And Sinclair Lott is an amazing drummer. So that'll be fun. And the week after that, right now, I have Bill Fulton, a keyboard player, and Nick Mancini, good buddy of mine. Vibe player is going to be here. He's coming in from Oklahoma. Well, he's coming through the interwebs from Oklahoma to do that. And then on the 11th, I've got a couple more people I'm waiting to get confirmation on for the 4th. But on the 11th, we're going to kind of do our Valentine's Day show because there are several jazz musicians in town whose partners sing or play. So Larry Steen has played here before. He's a bass player, and his wife, Nikki, they do a duet. They're going to come in. And then Joey DeLeon and Micah Miller are going to come in also. He's a percussionist, and she plays the oboe. So that should be pretty cool. I think we're going to hear some love oboe percussion duet there. And I've got a couple other people online. I have one person is watching, and I'm going to call you this week about it. So, and then I have another person lined up there. Maybe they're just making sure that everything is cool. So, but come back and hang out, and we will get back to the live shows. I'm hoping at the latest, March is when we start bringing the trios and quartets back in. And you can see everything on our YouTube page, which I just fancied up. So it's segmented into full band shows, best ofs, and these jazz roundtables. But if you're not on the mailing list, please jump on that. You can get on the mailing list at LiveAtZeroBPM.com, which you see all over the place. And it's AT, not the at symbol. Dave says, tried to tip in the tip jar on Facebook. Well, we don't have it on Facebook. You have to you go to the link, which is up in the chat room. So if you want to do that, please check it out. And I see Robin. Thank you, Robin. Just tipped us. That's very nice. She's a good friend of mine. Nice to see you here. Well, let's get back to this. Let's go directly to Pete. Pete, guest number 4. This is my scene for Pete.
Alrighty.
There you are.
Hey, man.
You gonna do a little something for us?
Sure. Let's see what happens this time. I'll start with something a little different.
Okay.
1 second.
That was very nice. A little short, but very nice.
Yes. Yeah. You know, we got to keep them one.
Welcome to
Okay, let's
professional
try it
show
again.
business.
Yes. Okay, let's try this. Thank you.
We're getting so many comments on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm sorry I can't keep up with them because I'm more involved in these shows. Not more involved, I'm talking more in these shows than I do in the live ones, but I'm getting all these great comments. Neil Van Erde, excuse me for mispronouncing, he says rock on. And people are really liking this. Jamie McCabe, Pat Kelly is digging on this. Dave Hill is here. Hi, Dave. You're going to be here next week. Or on the, next, no, 2 weeks. On the 4th, Dave Hill's going to be here. Or is it next week? Next week, the 28th. That's right. So many names coming in and out. But, and I'm bummed that we lost Dimitri's. And I think we just gave up. But I'm going to see if I can get that fixed on his end and have him back on the 4th as fill one of those slots if somebody can't do it. But just so you know, Dimitri's is really one of the most amazing, unique guitar players, I think, in the jazz world in Los Angeles. And let me just play the clip I was going to play of him. This is from the trio he came in. Let's just play this. Can anybody guess what tune that was? It was one A section, the second A section of a tune. So I like that. Let's just leave that one up there. If anybody in the chat room can guess what song that is, I will give you a round of applause. All for you.
Lush Life.
So,
That was Lush Life. Everybody knows that.
It was a D minor.
yeah. So, but I think we're kind of at the end of the show here. And thank you guys for joining us. I'm sorry we had the technical difficulties. I'm going to figure this out because this new format, having you guys in stereo, is such an improvement in the sound. So if I can just keep you guys from getting kicked off, then we'll have something here. And I want to say thank you to out there for understanding what we're going through. This is very grassroots, put together, not a production TV studio. We're just trying to get this done. And I want to thank you guys. I want to thank everybody that tipped. If you're watching an archive, you can still tip. That tip jar stays open forever. You can listen to this 6 years from now, and I will get the money to the guys, I promise. So I'm still waiting to see if anybody else logs in, but sometimes we get some late ones. And thank you guys for coming. In closing, anything you guys want to say?
No, it's always a pleasure to do this. Thanks for asking me.
Sure, and I know we're going to bring you back soon, David, with the one-man band. You're going to do a whole show by yourself.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
We'll do that when the studio's open. We'll get all the cool camera angles and close-ups on your hands and make it super groovy. And then, Greg, you are coming back with the GK Soul Jazz Orchestra, I promise.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that'll be great. And Pete, we got to get you back.
Yeah, man, as soon as we can.
Yeah, so I'm watching the reports every single day to see when the ICU beds has to get up to at least 50% availability before they're going to start opening up things again in Los Angeles. So I am watching that every night around 11. The New York Times updates its thing, and so does the LA Times. They have all their schedules. So I am keeping up because I would love to have the bands back, and it's so much fun to do that. And keeping jazz alive in LA. And one request out there, people that are watching, if you enjoyed this, get on our mailing list. I don't spam the heck out of you. I just send one out a week. And I will include, because we do have merch, and also I didn't show you the hats. I got this nice blue one. We got a black hat. Everybody needs a hat. And it's odd enough that people will say, are you telling me to live at 0 BPM? Or is it something's performing live at 0 BPM? And you've got a built-in conversation
slow.
there.
Slow.
It is live at 0 BPM would be to live in a state of bliss and nirvana, right?
There you go.
It could be that. It could be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Does that mean zero groove?
It's the speed of nirvana or the speed of Elvis right now.
Yeah.
Pete, what'd you say?
Yeah, I was just saying that it's a very, very slow song. There's no movement whatsoever. I always wonder that, like, sometimes you hear a band and the drummer's just dragging and dragging, and you're like, are they just going to stop eventually? Like, are they going to
At what
get
point?
down to zero? Yeah, like.
At what point will they? So, and a few last-minute comments for you guys. Dave Hill says that was cool with the layers Pete was layering and jamming on. And then
Wow, thanks.
somebody says, that's amazing, Pete Griffin. And I'm just going to guess. It's spelled D-E-J-I-M. So I don't know if it's Dejim or Dehim.
Yes.
Dejim?
That
okay.
is Dejim. Yes.
And then Shauna, who has been here and commenting lately, says, nice to hang with you all. You guys are amazing. Shauna, join our mailing list and then bring one person with you next week. You know,
tell
the
a
more
friend.
people we can get, we're kind of grassroots and building. We just want to get a bigger audience. So these guys have more people to play for, more people to listen. But I want to thank Greg, David, Pete, Dimitris, and everybody out there. I'm going to play my outro video. Let's see if we got David here to wave goodbye. Say goodbye to everybody. We had a great bunch of trio. And let me play the outro. I'm just going to talk about next week. Oh, and go get Greg's CD. And here comes Pete back. Okay, here's the outro, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody. Love you, Billy.
See you.
Thanks for joining us at Live at 0 BPM. These videos will be archived on YouTube and Facebook, so tell your friends. Coming up on Thursday, January 28th, it's the Live at 0 BPM Socially Distant Jazz Roundtable, featuring Carrie Frank, Jamie Kine, Dave Hill, and Sinclair Lott. Showtime, 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as always, it's free, though donations are greatly appreciated. Go to live@0bpm.com for details and to sign up for our mailing list. Also, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you soon.